Shalom. Kol halal Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers, the 144,000 that are scattered around the four corners of the earth. The Israelite foreigners that are scattered among the heathen that look like the heathen. And to those few Akwaf that are listening and learning, once again, to my fellow laborers who risk their lives and their freedom to do this work. Now more so than ever. I give a solemn shalom. It's going to be a quick lesson about Alexander of Macedonia, the former king. It's the elder brother Yashawamba did a lesson on Daniel 8, the 8th chapter. And then the brother Kazak Ban Yahawada sent me this article. So it's just like, the spirit, if we're not those men, who are, Because right now I was, we got embassies from the LA camp here, brother, beautiful brothers. And the brothers came to, I came to the dojo yesterday while we, and the brother heard my voice, said, I know that voice. And I'm thinking to myself, I know yours too. But see, the thing is, man, it's like every time we have a meet and greet with brothers, you have to understand, man, that we've done this before. That wasn't a meeting, that was a reunion. As it always is when we go visit brothers or brothers visit us, this is a reunion. Because there's no doubt in my mind that we are those men, in the regeneration. I know for sure it's not ISUPK. It's not IUIC. There's no way it could be these 501c3 charter camps that's in league with Esau. They can't be the men of the Lord. You got certain camps that's denying whole books. They're denying Paul. They can't be the men of the Lord. So if not, wearing who? Because if we're not the men of the Lord, then Israel is just screwed. All right? As simple as that. Because we got to wait for the men of the Lord to wake up and then go out and teach so that the northern and southern kingdom can come together and seek for their King David all over again. We won't make it through another 30, 40 years of this. We won't make it. Esau will have destroyed the earth. Himself, us. This is, but let me get into this lesson. This is, and that's just on the screen so you can see, that's that one to the right. Let me see if I can get my pen here as a marker. These two at the top, those busts of him. He's actually wearing an image of himself on his armor. And this was at the Battle of Gargama, which is what I'm going to talk about, which is spoken of in Daniel, the 8th chapter. All right, in the book of Daniel, when you read about the goat, the he-goat that took down the ram with the two horns, that was the Persian Medes. All right, and Alexander took them down. All right, but let's get into this battle, and this is pretty much the battle when it happened, the battle back and forth with Darius. And this just goes to prove that the Bible is, the most accurate history book that was ever written. All right. Even though it's a book of law, statutes, and commandments and prophecies of the past, the past and the future of the Israelites, the Lord's people, and everything that happened in between, the rise, fall, and then rise again of the Israelites. Okay, there's only two nations that rose twice. One would be the Edomites, because Rome fell at the hands of Israel. This is why they blot out dark ages history, whitewash dark ages history, white out medieval history, and whitewash medieval history. Because they don't want you to know that Rome fell at the hands of so-called Negroes. Hence, the Israelites in general, and which is the reason why they come against you so vehemently, so with so much wicked today, you have to understand the treatment of Jacob today, of the so-called black man and the rest of the northern kingdom, the rest of the so-called native and Latin tribes, is because of their precious Rome. That was brought to an end at the hand of, ultimately at the hand of the Lord, but through so-called Negroes that were all in their armies and their militaries. All right, so this time around, they decided that they would hide your history from you. Okay? But remember in the book of Daniel, the 8th chapter, that you can go read that. Go watch Elder Yashawamba's video. He gives a really good, thorough breakdown of it. But this battle is that battle that took place between the he-goat and the ram with the two horns, being the Persian Medes were brought down by Alexander. All right, but it says Alexander the Great, the Battle of Galgama in 331 BC. All right. It says, God ceased to direct the written revelation in the era between the Old Testament and the New Testament, which is a complete and total lie. See, that's them not acknowledging the apocrypha. All this history is in the apocrypha. All right. And it clearly tells you how Alexander came into power. All right. And he took over what is known, where's my map? It's Asia today. All right. And they talk about that in this map. Let me see if we can get some light on it. Everything east of Egypt, of Cairo, is Asia. What they refer to as the Middle East, because they kept calling it Asia until they got to the end of the article. So all the colored part from Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Israel, Jordan, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, as a matter of fact, if you wanted to call the Asia, which is east, the middle of it, you would probably start around Tamakistan. That's, where the Himalayas is. That's midway in the east. And then all the way to the Far East. Russia, the Bering Strait, Japan, North Korea, South Korea. So that's all of Asia, India included. Alexander took over all of that. All right. And there was no such thing as a Middle East at this time. That's why you will find no history going back at that time where the word Middle East is written down. Anytime you see that term, that was a term that came about in the 1800s. All right, just like when in the 1800s, the JOOs began calling themselves, Hebrews around that time. Began calling themselves, began to push forward the notion that they were the Israelites. Okay. And that's written in their own documents. But let us continue. If the spirit gets, brings that back around, I'll get to it. But it says, but yeah, this is a pretty bold statement for them to say God ceased to direct the revelation of the era between the Old Testament and the New Testament. But he did not stop his providential disposition in history. Some astounding events occurred in the intermittent period that changed the course of history throughout the rise and the conquest of the Greeks and the Romans. All right. Some which would have profound implication for the church and the future of mankind. Alexander the Third of Macedon, known to history as the Great, conquered and administered the most extensive empire since the Persians. So let's go to when and how that happened. Let's go into the scriptures. We're going to go to the book of 1 Maccabees, one of my favorite books in the Bible. And this, once again, the reason why they removed the apocrypha is because the apocrypha identifies Alexander basically through understanding the scriptures as the Edomites. All right. And Esau don't want to be the Edomites. They want to be white. They want to be JOOs. They want to be the Greeks. They want to be everything. They took over the Greeks and took on their heritage. That's exactly what they did. The Greeks were melanated people. They were not pale at all. They were people of color, dark. How South Indians and the rest of the people that look in Asia, the Greeks were the same way, dark. All right, even though they were in Europe. They took them over. So let's go to First Maccabees, because he came from Macedon, so they had already taken over, the Greeks and was claiming their heritage. So let's go to the book of First Maccabees, and here we go. First Maccabees 1:1, and it reads, "And it happened that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian," and if I'm not mistaken, it might tell you in here that Alexander they killed his father so that he could become king. All right, but it says and these Edomites did a lot of that to their own family members and to each other. All right, because Alexander's men got to fighting and warring with each other as soon as he died. All right, fighting over Asia and Europe and North Africa, pretty much. Okay, but it says but it happened that after Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persian Medes, he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. See, so that he wasn't the Grecians. He reigned over them, the first in his stock, in his bloodline, in his race. All right. And Alexander's father, Philip, is an Agagite. The Bible tells you that. And the Agagites were sons of Amalek. And Amalek is a grandson of Esau. So Alexander and his people are indeed the Edomites that the Bible talks of. And that history is in the Bible, in between the Old and the New Testament. And in this portion of the Bible is where, and we're going to get to it, I'm going to read some of it, is where the Israelites became Hellenized, right along with all the people that they conquered throughout Asia. All right? All these people, all right, up there in Europe, and all these people in the colored part of Asia, all right, which they fraudulently and falsely call the Middle East to control a false narrative, as if it's a race connected to Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey, Israel, all right, Yemen, okay? That was all Asia. And all these people were Hellenized. That's what Rome was all about, okay? But it says, "And he made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty and strong host and ruled over the countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him." Right? So all these kings joined unto him, being defeated or just would surrender or lose the battle, they become tributaries. All right? "And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive." So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And they killed his son, because he did have a son. All right? And even though this dude was a whole alphabet thing, he did have a son. And his son was killed. So because the people, the men, the rest of the army would have put his son up to be king. So they got rid of him. And that's how cutthroat these damn Edomites are. To him who shall be evil, to himself, to who shall he be good? Somebody can post it on the comment board, Baba Kashah. That one scripture. I remember that scripture, but I can never remember where it is. But anyway, these people started warring over Asia. All right? And we know that Ptolemy took Egypt, which is just west of Asia. All right? Remember, the so-called Middle East is Western Asia. All right? The so-called Middle East is Western Asia. All right? It's exactly what it is. It's what it's always been. All right? That term Middle East came about in the 1800s at the same time a whole lot of JOO lies. But it says, "And his servants bear rule in everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth." So through these Edomites, oppression and evil multiplied into the earth. All right. And they declared themselves as royals and kings, and they are farce. They are the basis of men. Matter of fact, it also tells you that in Daniel. Let's go to it. Let's shoot over to Daniel real quick. Daniel 4:17. And it reads, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers and by the demand by the word of the holy ones, which are the men of the Lord, to the intent that the living may know," all right, that the living may know that the Most High, which is Yahweh, ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. So as our punishment, because the world was created for our sakes, for us going off and being wicked, the Lord set up the basis of men, and he used this man to do it, which is why he's so revered among Esau, Edom. Why they up? Because they'll let you tell it. Civilization started with him, with his bloody massacres and rapes. His men, I got books that how his men were raping men on the battlefield as they die. All right, they wouldn't even let you die in peace. You laying there dying, these dudes will flip you over, you expose your butthole and go inside of it, and rape you as you're dying. Yeah, these are the men that's ruling the world now. I'm gonna go find that book and do a lesson on it again, because people just like hear that and they just how the little emoji with the bulging eyes, like what the WTF. All right, but let's go back to First Maccabees. Actually, let me read that lie in that article first. All right, that like they're making him a god, like. But once again, let's read. It said, "God ceased to direct the written revelation in the era between the Old Testament and the New Testament." What a bold-faced fucking. Let me show it to you, man. All right, let's. And I hope this becomes a screensaver. God ceased to direct the written revelation in the era between the Old Testament and the New Testament. And see, this is what. And then there's a bust of Alexander. This is what the churches teach. This is why people erroneously pick up the Bible and think they can start reading at Matthew and understand the Bible and make it apply to everybody. This very important history of what happened during the time between the Old Testament and the New Testament is in the apocrypha, and unfortunately for the so-called white man, it identifies him as the wicked. So when you go to the Old Testament and it starts saying Job 9:24, when it says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, he covereth up the faces of the judges thereof. Then you go to the Maccabees and it breaks down how they were opening the book of the law, the Bible, and begin to paint the images of themselves. That's where you get all this Renaissance art of and why people to this day are ignorant. I just watched a video. Someone was mad about this whole Clarence thing with Jay-Z. All right, they're blackwashing Jerusalem. No, you whitewash Jerusalem. Lamentation 4:8 says it. Referring to the Judeans, that in their visage was blacker than a coal. Job 30:30 says their skin is black upon them. Jeremiah 14:2 says that the Judeans are black unto the ground. All right. Hebrews 7:14 says that the Lord, who the world erroneously and falsely calls Jesus Christ, his name is Yahushua, sprang out of the tribe of Judah, and the Bible in Jeremiah 14:2 describes Judah as black. The angels are described as black in Ezekiel. God is described as black in Daniel. So the evidence is there. They just choose to ignore it and cherry pick, and then they'll use scriptures like they became white. That's talking about purity, not skin complexion. So, but you see this blasphemy? It said God ceased to direct the written revelation. It made me not even want to read the rest. It's just bust of him. That's all it is. And then, more stories about the battle. And then it shows his father. There's the Edomite Philip, the Macedonian, father of Alexander. Okay. So let's get back to some of this important history real quick. First Maccabees, I think around 40 or 41. Well, actually, we can start at 11. All right. Nope, 10. Let's start at 10. So you have, wicked Edomites and wicked Jake that hooked up with them. First Maccabees 1 and 10. And it says that there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been the hostage at Rome and reigned in the 137th year in the kingdom of the Greeks. All right. So Antiochus was going back and forth with Ptolemy. And Ptolemy had Egypt. All right. So these kings, these Alexander's men began to war with each other, and so that their sons after them. It says, and in those days there went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. Since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. All right. So this pleased them well. And certain of the people were so for it herein, they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. All right. They started following the ways of the heathen. Verse 14. Whereupon they built the place of exercise, Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised physically and spiritually, and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves unto the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. All right. And so, and many of the Israelites prescribed to this. Let's jump up to 41, because I would highly suggest you're going to read First Maccabees, the first chapter. It says, moreover, the king Antiochus wrote to the whole kingdom that all should be one people. There's that NWO back then. All right, trying to do what Nimrod did before. This has always been a plan of the heathen, of the wicked. And everyone should leave his law. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandments of the king. All right, so the people were Hellenized. All right, and the Hellenista is referring to, that's Acts 6 and 1, Acts 9 and 29. All right, was referring to the Hellenized Israelites who were Greek-speaking Israelites, or made the Greek customs their ways. All right, so that's where you get the confusion or the false narrative that was pushed by Edomites. There's no difference between Greek nor Jew, trying to write themselves in to salvation with all the wickedness that they've done and continue to do to this day. All right, it says, yeah, many of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. And for the king has sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem and to the cities of Judea, of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings, sacrifice, and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath and pollute the festival days and pollute the holy temple. And they did. Set up altars, groves, and chapels and idols, and sacrifice wine, flesh to unclean beasts. They should leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. All right, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. So the Israelites became heathen. They became Greeks. And this very important detail is left out in theology schools and out of Christianity. All right. So with that, I hope this was edifying. Call halal Yahweh B'Shem Al Shai B'Hasham Makakwadash Wa Abba Babal Kwam Yasharala Shalom.